Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2024 horror Scurry. The film is directed by Luke Spark and it stars Jamie Costa and Amalia. Now it focuses on, there's some kind of world-ending event that takes place, and we meet a character called Mark, who essentially wakes up at the bottom of a crater, thinking there's been this huge earthquake or something like that. He's at the bottom of this crater, doesn't know what's going on, and he gets basically trapped down there. So the only way out is to continue through, if you like, under all these tunnels. He heads under these tunnels, and then he comes across a lady called Kate, who is also trapped down there. They essentially work together with a sketchy agreement that, they'll try and get out together. And it soon becomes a reality that they realise very quickly that they're not alone down there. There is something down there with them, stalking them, and they have to overcome quite a few obstacles in order to get out from under these underground tunnels. Right, what are my thoughts on Scurry? Well, essentially this is a low-budget affair. It is really, for the 95% of the film, it is really just these two characters underground, scurrying through tunnels, trying to basically make it out alive. Not really understanding what's going on. Well, certainly the Mark character doesn't early on. The Kate character has actually seen some pretty disturbing stuff before she ended up down there. And essentially it revolves around creatures that appear to be coming up from everywhere, and literally tearing people limb from limb. So it's... When you watch this, it's got a very, very clear similarity to films like A Quiet Place. It's not particularly subtle in that. It's really just, I suppose it's. While I was watching this, I was sort of thinking to myself, this is like A Quiet Place. If you like, literally after they've just invaded and you get trapped underground with them. It's almost like telling a different side of the tale almost, and that's really all you get for this film. Now, don't get me wrong, there's lots of interactions between these two characters. They're in quite a few dodgy, tension-filled scenarios. They come across other bodies, some partially alive, some dead. There are moments where they think they're going to be rescued and it all goes wrong. And all the while they are being kind of followed by this creatures. And it's like, how do we get from here to here and stay alive, and that is really the lion's share of this film. Now, it would be a real struggle to get through if some effort hadn't been put into these characters. They're both very, very different. Mark is a troubled guy who has had family troubles that he blames himself for. He's really trying hard to reconnect with his wife and his kids. He's a good man at heart. And Kate is quite the polar opposite in many ways. She's really, when we meet her, a petty thief. But she's got a much larger story to tell, which you learn as you go through the film. So we do get to know these characters and understand who they are, which makes the film, it makes any film, when the characters are written reasonably well, or, even a little bit, it makes the film more interesting for the audience member because you can start relating to them more. And there's, like I said, the lion's share of this film is just these two characters underground. So you've got to make them interesting to some degree. There has to be that effort put in. And there has been the effort put in. But it can only kind of take you so far, this film, before you kind of like, okay, we've seen this now. We've seen this now. We know this. And then when you start getting introduced to the creatures, it's a combination of good and bad, in the sense of when you see them, fully see them, they don't look great, but they're far more effective when you kind of see them in the shadows and the noises that they make. That is when this film is absolutely at its strength in regards to the threat that they face down there. But the film is two characters underground after like a world-ending event has happened, trying to get out of this sewer system, out of these tunnels, with a real threat down there that is chasing them. That's your film. There's very little else to say, really, other than, like I say, it's not particularly original. It's got, elements of A Quiet Place, elements of Cloverfield. I certainly felt it was, especially the ending of the film. And if you do watch this film, you'll absolutely understand what I mean by that. The ending of the film, it's not subtle in that sense. But I mean, this is a low budget film, but there has clearly been effort been put in here. They've done some good, strong casting. We've got some, good actors in post here. The writing is strong enough to kind of keep you interested, and the situation that these characters find them in is strong enough to keep you interested, but doesn't necessarily hold your attention throughout. It's very down the middle, this one. It's not a bad film, you know what I mean? It feels like a lot of the budget that they had, they've really tried to make it feel as claustrophobic as possible, and as horrific as possible, without ever introducing any creature. And then, once you've got that sense of despair, claustrophobia and all this kind of stuff, then you've got these creatures as well added on top of that, which, does add something to the film, but it doesn't hold your interest, I don't think, long enough. I think this probably would have been better as like a short film or a tale in an anthology series, like a VHS, 20-minute film sort of thing. It feels like they've had a decent idea and stretched it way out over like a 90-minute playtime, or however long the film is. But still, it's not a terrible film. If you get a chance to catch this one on streaming, you probably won't be overly disappointed, but just don't be expecting a masterpiece. That's my thoughts on Scurry. I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.